Got him! Hello and welcome to another episode of Change Talk. Today we're going to go over something most parents are continuously concerned about, which is what type of video games their kids are playing. Let's get started. Video games, since its inception, has had a really bum reputation. Despite its practice becoming more culturally accepted as older generations begin to build the nostalgia associated with parents of who also had their own video game entertainment system as a child, video games still have always been most associated with zombification, aggression in children, synonymous with individuals yet to mature, and general avoidance behaviors. In today's episode, we're going to tackle some of the real benefits, along with some of the drawbacks of video game usage in the United States. Let's start off with the bad stuff that most people already know. After all, any tool ranging from a hammer, vehicle, or even electronic video gaming system can be abused and misused. This includes video games being used as a form of escapism from things that need to get done. Method towards feeling empowered to disparage others online, hiding behind their electronic screens, and of course the video game addictions that we've all heard about. Yes, it's true that first-person shooters can increase aggression in children and reduce overall empathy, but it's really specific study that does not take other variables into account, such as parent oversight interactions, whether the game is laden with fictional or more realistic humans, and other avenues that the research studies find themselves lacking in. Don't forget, getting funding for future research studies often requires a hypothesis that is proven. It's great PR for whatever department if the study makes the news, and due to the real resource limitations of time, money, and research participants, often is a short-term snapshot representation of correlated and not yet causational phenomenon. Yes, I once took a seminar on video game addiction where the psychiatrist indicated that despite there being many variables associated with addiction that need to be identified, 2 hours is a good general rule of thumb when it comes to limiting your child's exposure to video games. There are some good reasons to control the amount of exposure associated with these games. First and foremost, any parent that does not see the association between video games and gambling needs to look again. Might I suggest taking a moment of time to look at your local arcade with the flashing lights, points, upgrades, reinforcing sounds, and various prizes that you can win either through chance or skill. Bridging arcades to your in-home video game entertainment system, these prizes turn into character skins, unlockable items, battle chests, meritorious promotions, trophies, along with the same flashing lights, game-exclusive currencies, and encapsulating sounds that envelops the player. Back in my generation, the poor resolution, 8-bit graphics, and poor frames per second would be enough eye strain to be aversive to play video games for any protracted time due to getting headaches on the old cathode ray tube or CRT monitors. Today, many of these natural constraining consequences are gone with 4K resolutions and shocking frames per second, making video game self-management that much more difficult. Excessive video game playing can lead to some real repetitive stress injuries involving flexor tendons, trigger thumb, and even joint damage. However, the same could be said about playing sports, chronic exercise, and being in front of your keyboard all day. Positive benefits associated with video game use cherishes today's real exercise benefits via virtual reality, which is affording our younger generations that refuse to leave the house an opportunity to get some cardiovascular exercise, such as games like a popular Beat Saber. On the flip side, video games can be a strong therapeutic tool that increases social engagement, psychological resilience, problem solving, and may improve eyesight, depth perception, and reflexes. As one of my favorite video game series to talk about with my clients, take the Soul series games from the developers from Software. Their historic claim to fame has been their one slogan of "Prepare to Die," inviting players to challenge early, near impossible bosses to learn strategies and to be enticed to do the hard grinding work of long hours strategizing as to how to build up their character in order to make the nominal progress throughout the game. Talk about a muscle or useful skill that can be used pushing through arduous term papers and relationships that can be mundane at times. Dealing with failure, aversive environments, plan development, asking for help from others, and troubleshooting are all characteristics our children should learn to develop. The problem is that many children gravitate towards games that offer immediate gratification and clickbait games that lure players through cheap thrills, irresponsible behaviors, exploitative humor, and arbitrary goals. Video games that offer puzzles, themes of morality and hard work are games your child should be playing. Yes, these games can be fantasy-based, and honestly, you'll be surprised how even zombie games, such as the popular Resident Evil series, can be therapeutic for children, forcing players to sequence their progression throughout the game, and solve sometimes very challenging puzzle and combat systems. Games that I would have your children avoid would be open-world games in which criminality is a substantial part of the game, where the game simulates murdering humans, stealing, and other forms of social deviance versus fantastical beasts or the undead, which is presented to the player as both clearly fictional with limited real-life parallel scenarios. Therapeutically, I have seen virtual reality and remote-controlled motion games being used in both physical therapists, occupational therapists, psychiatric wards, and neurological chiropractic offices, where their actual medical use can be certainly seen in institutions surrounding disabling conditions such as convalescent homes. Since video games often require the mental real estate of most of the regions of the brain, they make effective engagement activities where the participant easily reaches their skills threshold, hyper-focuses on the task at hand, and generally loses track of time, which is vital towards resetting the brain from a long week's worth of stressful or anxiety-provoking events. Again, in psychology, many temporary behavioral medicines can easily turn into vices if left uncontrolled or unsupervised. Video games have a tendency to teach higher order learning activities and bolster instances of creativity and at times attention to detail, utilizing working memory in a society that is slowly learning how little time parents have these days to teach or engage these skills individually. Granted, the long working hours both parents have to deal with these days, along with the other unpleasant realities that we need a workaround for.
Uh-oh.
Plain and simple, most video games really aren't that bad. Yes, like anything, if used inappropriately or for too long, it can create problems, but regular use of video games with moderation is perfectly acceptable, especially considering the content in which that they're playing. With that said, stay tuned to our next episode.